A warm welcome to A Nurse's Lift to Work with Tina and Kate, coaching podcast by two healthcare professionals. We are friends, we are nurses, master NLP coaches, hypnotherapists, parents and business owners. We are busy people juggling many things just like you.
You are in for a treat. We will chat about informal coaching tips, coping strategies, and how to effectively change your mindset and have some fun along the way. So, hop on board with us for A Nurse's Lift to Work.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to A Nurse's Lift to Work. I'm Kate.
And this is Tina. And Kate, this week we're going to talk about something called cause and effect, or being above the line. And this is something that can help people in the way that they think to get better results and feel better.
Yes. So essentially, are you feeling a bit like the world is against me and woe is me and woe is my life? Or are you like, you know what? I'm going to have this and I'm going to do it. I'm going to sort it out. And listeners, like, you may and or may not gather from my excitable tone. I've only had one coffee today. I am so far above the line, I can't even see it, Tina. Look at that.
Yeah, amazing. And in a minute, we're going to explain what we mean when we use this fancy way of explaining it. But sometimes, like as Kate has quite rightly said, we blame the world and everything else for what is occurring. And if that is what is in your head, then it sets the tone for being a bit helpless. Like, for example, say I bought a cranky old car and I drove it to see you, Kate, and it conked out on your drive. And I said, this car, they sold me this car and it's, they've tricked me into buying this terrible car, which is a nightmare. And look, all the wheels have fallen off. And I would be blaming others and I wouldn't be thinking of my own role in that. Or
Yeah.
I could arrive at your house and I could say, okay, I should have looked into this car a lot more. I rushed buying it because I needed a new car and I didn't really do any research and I didn't really check out the garage's credentials and blah, blah, blah. So I'm taking a bit of responsibility there.
Yeah. There's a quick and easy kind of way to work out if somebody is where they are with this. And one is to look at them if you're face to face, because posture, body language will tell you a lot. And the other is if the word they a lot, implying somebody else, it's not my fault. Don't blame me. That kind of stuff. Those are real tells when it comes to this.
Yeah. And as you were chatting, I was thinking, made me. Kate made me angry.
Yeah.
How did Kate make me angry? Did I?
The children made me eat the sweeties. They didn't, everybody.
No.
That was a voluntary thing.
Yes. So the anger's coming from inside me. That's the reaction I'm having. I mean, Kate might be annoying me in some regard. Doubtful. But
very doubtful.
but it's me that's having the reaction. And it's just such a simple little switch. But once you get your head around the fact that your reactions, your feelings, your thoughts are coming from inside of you, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Because then you can change things up.
And it's that awareness, isn't it? It's accessing those resources and going, I can change this, because you can flip it to the other side of the coin. How will you know when you are above the line, when you are in that creative, resourceful state? What kind of words will you use? And how can you help somebody else to recognize it as well and do something about it. Because one of the things that we actively promote is we teach you these things, we tell you these things so that you can then go and share the love, because this information, this knowledge is not meant to be kept to yourself. It's supposed to be shared so we can all be better people.
Yeah. And it really, really helps you to be calmer because, annoying and difficult stuff will still happen. Your car may break down, something. So you may be working with somebody who is not an easy person to work with for a variety of reasons based on their behaviour. So some of this stuff is still going to happen. But if you're pausing and thinking, right, okay, so what can I do? How can I change that person's state, my own state? We call it your state of mind, I guess. That is the most helpful thing you can do.
Yeah.
And it usually starts with pausing and noticing, thinking, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah. And another great thing that you can do is if you are, if you are in that non-resourceful place, when you recognize it, changing your state is made much easier if you change your position. Do something. As soon as you recognize it, do something. Stand up, move around, go and make a cup of tea. I don't know. Something. There's a great book that I'm listening to, an audio book by Mel Robbins. It's normally Tina that does the reading stuff. I actually do read. It's an audio book, so it's not quite the same. But it's called the 5 second rule, and it is an amazing way of getting you into that resourceful place. I absolutely recommend it to anybody.
And you can follow her on social media as well. So we'll stick some links in for you. Yeah, so doing that work with yourself, just starting to notice, like, how am I showing up? Am I being a bit whingy and saying, oh, it's just not fair and nothing ever works out for me? Or am I thinking, hang on a minute, what can I do to change this up? Just something as simple as that. You will feel so much better. But this above and below the line language, they use this acronym, which some people find helpful. So they say that you can be below a line. And obviously, if you're below any line, you're probably not your most resourceful performing self. So when you're below the line, they say you're in bed, like, having a little snooze. So those letters are B, E, D. And they stand for the fact that you're a bit more likely to blame other people or the situation, make excuses, the dog ate my homework, and just be in denial that this has got anything to do with you, actually.
Yeah.
And then you can be above the line, can't you, Kate? What's that about?
So when we are above the line, it's OAR, and this stands for taking the opportunity. So it might be that rubbish things have happened to you, but it's an opportunity for learning. It's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to take a different path, do something different. And then we take accountability. Now, Tina and so I run a preceptorship for nurses group, a Facebook group, and we talk about accountability and ownership a lot. We want people to be above the line. And obviously when you are accountable, it's more about the I, not about anybody else. It's about what you do, how you take action, how you make a difference to yourself to actively make a positive change. And with that, in actual, all of these come together, and the R is for responsibility, and they all come together. You take ownership of the situation, you're accountable for yourself and how you handle that situation, and you take responsibility for what happens next.
Yeah. And if you're sort of person who likes a mental picture, those letters spell the word or. And I often think of being in a boat and having oars and you can then paddle somewhere, hopefully upstream, and that feels better. So they're just a different way to think about it, but definitely worth exploring the idea of being more resourceful in this way.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, this is one of my favourite topics because it has such a lot of impact. And it's always worth listening to this episode multiple times to get it to sink in. So when you're in a situation, and we all will be at some point, where, there is a tendency to be below, you can go, actually, and remember it. And as always, you can use this with anybody. How many of you with children? It wasn't my fault. I haven't done it because. Okay, how can you use this episode? How can you use this knowledge to teach your children a better place to be in, a better state? How can you teach them to change their state? And that's what it's all about. It's that cycle, isn't it, of improvement?
Yeah. And just to finish on a nursing example, once I had a call from a nurse in charge of a ward, and they had a lot of sickness there. She phoned me and said, could you come down, Tina? I need to problem solve with you because 3 of the staff have gone off sick on what would have been the late duty for those of us who work shifts. So I went down and she said, right, what I've done this morning is this, and this. I've sent somebody over there to phone the people who are all going to be on duty tomorrow to see if they'll work the late tonight to move the problem into tomorrow to give us more time to deal with it. And I've done this, and this, and I've done this. She listed all the things that she'd done. And I said, fantastic, well done. Thanks for being so resourceful. Do you need anything else from me? And she said, these are the things I need you to do. And I said, fantastic, I'll get on to that. So that was a very above the line nurse in that situation. Fast forward a week or so, and a very similar thing happened because we had this bug going around all our staff. And I had a phone call saying, could somebody go down to the ward because the nurse in charge was in a flap? So she hadn't phoned me herself. I went down. There was considerable flapping of all sorts. And it felt chaotic. It felt like that kind of energy when I got there. And the person met me and said, this is a nightmare. No one's sorted this out. They should have known this was going to happen yesterday. I've been left with hardly any staff. This is so busy. This is ridiculous. The management need to do something about it. So there was quite a lot of below the line stuff. And I said, so what have you managed to do so far? And she said, absolutely nothing, because I've been running around looking after patients. I said, okay, well, let's see together what we can achieve then. Take a breather. Let's delegate what you've been doing with that patient to someone else just for a minute. And try to move and shift her into a more resourceful place.
Yeah.
But that is honestly real. And I'm sure lots of nurses listening to this will be thinking, I know both those examples and I've seen them both happen.
Yeah. Well, listeners, I love this subject so much. I really do. I could talk about it forever. But luckily for you, we're not. So, I'm Kate.
And I'm Tina.
And you've been listening to A Nurse's Lift to Work.
You've been listening to A Nurse's Lift to Work with Kate and Tina. Please remember, this is not a replacement for medical treatment or help, so do seek assistance if you need to.
Thank you for joining us. Please do like, subscribe, give us stars, like and share with your friends and colleagues. All the good things.